Well, this is a viburnum opulus or viburnum opulus variation Americanum, and the berries are just coming ripe. And of course, the berries make very, very tasty condiments. I make a cranberry ketchup with them that is very good with venison and other wild foods. Commonly, this is known as crampbark. The inner bark of this particular plant is stripped, dried, and then made into a tincture or decocted for helping relieve spasming of smooth and striated muscle. Now, commonly crampbark used by women for uterine cramping during premenstrual, but it could also be for bladder cramping, could be for asthma associated with respiratory and lung constriction. So it is added to formulas wherever there is a need to slow down and stop the spasming of tissue. It's commonly known in this part of the world as kalina. The Ukrainian settlers often would sing songs and poems about the high bush cranberry kalina, sing its praises, and it's become part of the mythology of the Ukrainian in this part of the world. Little do they realize that the red of the berry is actually representative of the breaking of the hymen during the honeymoon, and the red represents the menstrual bleeding, of course, that is associated, and so that part has been forgotten, and most Ukrainian people would probably be shocked and surprised to hear that's what they're singing about.
Well, here we have crampbark or guelder rose, viburnum opulus. This is the European species. Both the American and the European species are used. Viburnum prunifolium is the American one. They look fairly similar and they're somewhat interchangeable. They're both used for cramping. They both contain like valerianic acid related to valerian, taste somewhat similar. And so that means that they're beneficial for female cramping and lower back pain, which is where valerian is particularly effective, lower back pain, uterine cramping. And the American one is somewhat more sour and fights fire. Look at how fiery it looks. Here's the berries. And so I've used it for Crohn's disease. Oh, that's right, I gotta get in touch with that woman again. Cure, 10 years, Crohn's disease. She's finally got colitis, but that's an improvement over enteritis 10 years ago. It stopped. She had 45% of her colon was scarred. We stopped it dead cold for 10 years. And now she's got colitis, which means the symptoms are moving down and out of her body. So it can be used, that's off-brand use, not too many people know about that, to use viburnum for heat reduction. I'd imagine it's good for fever too. It's an old Indian remedy. It's one of the great, I call them the American Indian heritage gift of the female remedies, about a dozen good female remedies. And Dr. John King, in his Materia Medica about 1850, records that his patients brought this plant in to show him, and that they learned about it from, quote, a neighboring Indian tribe. This was in Illinois or Indiana when the tribes were being moved west, so I'm not even sure which tribe it was. And he identified it with viburnum opulus, the European plant, but clearly the Indians were using the American species, viburnum trilobum. It's cousin of black haw, which is somewhat more nutritive, used for pregnancy. The berries look nice, but they don't taste too good.